So good evening, everyone. Well, it's wonderful. I'm just looking into my screen, and it's so wonderful to, see such a dynamic mix of innovators, thought leaders, and tech enthusiasts, right? All gathered here today, and already looks like a full house, isn't it? Right? And I'm honestly just hoping we don't run out of coffee just to keep up the excitement. So let's dive into the session. Make it as lively and inspiring as the energy you all bring today. So we are absolutely thrilled to have you all here as we dive into the world of cloud compute, where big ideas meet even bigger possibilities. So, I would say grab your virtual seat and maybe your coffee and get ready for some cloud magic to happen. All right. And yes, on that note, I am Naman Kothari and I'll be your host today. So now, what if I tell you that the cloud isn't really in the sky? Yeah, that we are actually walking on it every single day. Sounds like something out of a Christopher Nolan or Steven Spielberg movie, right? Very futuristic. But think about it for a second. What really is the cloud? We will be discussing and diving deep into the technical nitty-gritties of cloud. But just think for a moment, what is the cloud? Is it a bunch of blinking servers hidden in some underground vault, or is it the invisible powerhouse behind everything we do, from sending memes to running billion-dollar industries? Food for thought, right? Well, that's what we are here to uncover. Today, we are diving deep into the exciting world of cloud compute, a world that's not just over our heads, but under our fingerprints as well. And I would say the cloud has got more layers than a double-decker sandwich, the good kind, of course, with extra cheese, right? So back in the day, running a business meant having an entire room dedicated to humming servers and a maze of wires that look more complicated than our weekend plans. But now, boom, you get all the power you need up in the cloud, and it's actually like magic. And but not the pull of a rabbit out of a hat kind of thing, but but I would say it's the scale your business at lightning speed kind of magic that we are talking about here. And here's a thought to start us off, right? So the topic is innovation in cloud compute. So let's think about it. Where does innovation, really live? Is it in the cloud's ability to process insane amount of data, or in how it's enabling us to tackle problems we couldn't even imagine 10 years ago, right? Talk about early 2010s or early 2000s, right? So, or maybe just innovation is in how we are transforming industries overnight with a single click. So there are lots of questions to be asked, but now don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to write that down, but I might ask you to think about this for a bit, because by the end of today's session, your view of cloud computing might just change entirely, thanks to all our speakers and guests. And speaking of clouds, now since I've already set the tone, now speaking of cloud, let me drop a little fun to get things going. And by the way, this is an open discussion. So my question to all of you is just a light humor. My question to all of you is, why did the cloud break up with the data center? Well, why did the cloud break up with the data center? And the answer is because it needed space. I know. All right, I can see Srini smiling. All right, so it dropped successfully. Okay, so no more cloud breakup jokes, I promise. But before we jump in, let me tell you a little about Open Innovator Platform, the brainchild of the industry collaboration. Here we don't just talk about innovation; we co-create it with industry players like Murale, Vijay, Srini, everyone present here today. Now, let me quickly also talk about the format of today's session. You might find it little unique than the other sessions that you might have attended, right? So we are keeping things relaxed. No more, boring presentations where you lose track of what's going on. This is more like a more like a coffee table chat where we discuss, debate, and exchange ideas. So, and you will hear from the industry leaders, but most importantly, and this is very important, dear attendees, this is very important that we want you to jump in. This is important, right? Please participate, right? I see a full house, right? And it's an open forum, like I said. Ask questions, share your thoughts, and get engaged, because that's where the real magic happens. And here's a cool part, the coolest part. We have got some amazing startups lined up from some of the top innovators in the country. And these teams are working on groundbreaking cloud solutions. And trust me, you don't want to, miss this segment as well. All right, now as a warm up, here's a bit food for thought before we dive deeper. Right? Let's talk numbers. I know you all like it. Let's talk numbers. The cloud is everywhere, but do you really know how massive it is becoming? Let me hit you with some stat that will make you look twice at your own data storage. Let's first talk about, global market growth. The cloud market is on fire, guys. It was valued 70.19 billion in 21, and by 29 it is projected to hit staggering 376 billion, right? And we have listed the source as well. Now let's move to, data growth. How do you see it? So by 2025, there will be an estimated, all right, so we have the slide in front of us. By 25, as you can see, there will be an estimated of 100 zettabytes of data storage in the cloud. Wow, that's 50% of all global data. Let's just say the cloud is, handling a lot more than just your vacation photos, at least. Yes. We'll move to our next stat. So it's on enterprise adoption now, which is very interesting, and one of our personal favorite, and which motivate us to work more on this domain. A whopping 92% of enterprises have a multi-cloud strategy. Wow, and 80% are already using hybrid cloud setups. If your business isn't in the cloud yet, well, let's just say you are going to want it to be on the cloud soon, right? And now we'll talk about something which is part of each one of our KPIs: cost effectiveness. How much money do you save for your company? Organizations, that shift to the cloud can save an average of 30 to 50% by moving workloads from expensive on-prem infrastructure. That's real money being reinvested in innovation. And this is through a McKinsey report. And now we'll talk about another topic which is close to our heart: sustainability, energy efficiency, I would say, right? And how cloud contributes to it. We'll see it shortly. All right, here's a slide. So moving to the cloud can actually reduce energy consumption by 70 to 85%, right? And compared to the traditional on-site data centers, right? So you saw all the data, right? Impressive, correct? These numbers don't just speak, they shout. The cloud is no longer just a storage solution. It's the driving force behind driving transformations. And today, the day is special because we'll be hearing from some of the brilliant minds who are pushing those boundaries even further. All right. Now let's get the session underway. Remember, this will be an open discussion once again. I'm repeating this fact again. We are here to share ideas, learn something new, and spark innovation. We have also got exciting startup pitches from our top innovators. So stay tuned for those. You might just witness the next big cloud breakthrough, right? All right. Our team has already started engaging with all our guests. So without further ado, right? Enough said. Now the action begins, right? Let me introduce our incredible lineup of speakers who will lead us through today's discussion. First up, we have Narayanan, the Chief Technology Officer, CTO at Dell Technologies, who has been at the forefront of cloud innovation and is here to share his expertise. All right, we have Murali on the screen. Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome, Murali. We have P. Vijaya, the head of cloud platform at Yokogawa, bringing insights from from a leader player in the industrial automation and cloud solution. Welcome, Vijaya. We also have Srinivasan Varadhan. We often call him Srini, the Chief Technology Officer at Cognizant, who will offer a deep dive into how cloud tech is shaping the future of enterprise solutions. And joining us all the way from Osaka, Japan, we have Dr. Sonu Bhaskar, who is the visiting director at the National Cerebral and Cardiovascular Center to provide, so Dr. Sonu will be providing a global perspective on cloud applications in healthcare. Can we have all our speakers on the screen, please? All right, folks. Okay. So now it's time, to hand over the reins to someone who, doesn't just talk about innovation. He lives and breathes it. Our moderator today is Sanjeev Malhotra, CEO of Mighty NASCOM Center of Excellence. He has led some of the most transformative tech projects, both in India and around the globe. And he has a knack for making complex topics seem effortlessly engaging. So if anyone can keep us on our toes while making complex topics sound like breeze, it's him. Sir, the stage is yours. Over to you.
Thank you. Naman, you are perfect in the art of putting pressure on people when they're relaxed. So, good. Welcome, everyone. As Naman did a 100-watt introduction to this whole thing, cloud is a topic that we have been hearing for many, many years, and it's increasingly becoming important. We thought this would be just another thing, but I think that importance continues to grow up, and given what's happening and what AI has brought a new dimension to it. And so much so that I would say, I having started in Silicon Valley, the journey, designing processors for PCs and then for servers, I feel left out, and that's why we need people like you here to guide us. The cloud, the private cloud, the hybrid thing. Obviously, cloud as much great it is. There is as much a need for having on-prem computing for multiple reasons. And how do we handle it? What do we see happening? The security part, the manageability. How do you manage the data? So Murali, I would like to start with you. You are sitting right in the center of, the world where the Dell is like right in the center. We have seen Dell, starting from PCs into the server world and now into the cloud. Share us, what do you see? You deal with customers all across the world. What do you see happening there in that world, and how do people manage this, right? This on-prem cloud and private cloud and so on. Make us some sense out of that.
So I can talk about a couple of things, and the organization is really evolving and effectively managing and securing the data. It's all about data on AI last 2.5 years, the buzz around, right? The multiple environment we talk about on-prem and public cloud and private cloud, or a hybrid setup environment is absolutely evolving. And also that comes with a lot of challenges and operational flexibility also. So I can talk about a couple of things and how effectively we are managing today, and securing the data in the hybrid environment is a key, which including your on-prem public and private cloud requires the comprehensive and integrated approach. That's what I can think of it. However, they can also introduce the complexity in managing and securing the data across this, very highly diversifying environment. And there are a lot of things we need to work on it. We need to consider when you're building or when you're moving to that kind of environment in the large enterprise. One is unified data management, security measures, how secure data access and sharing happening, and data security, compliance and risk management, and hybrid and the multi-cloud strategy, how you're going to, consistently the security practices can be applied and all the stuff. Of course, today is all about automation and orchestrations, and how you're responding when the incident happens and how quickly you're recovering. These are the things is happening from a cloud perspective overall. If you can put me into this, particular question, and I can go deeper into the conversation. Thank you, Sanjeev.
Good. No, thank you. I just wanted to get a high level view of things, and Srini, maybe you and both Raju represent the global organizations. So Srini, why don't you share some of the observations and trends that you have seen in this same area of cloud and on-prem balance?
Perfect. Sure, Sanjeev. Before starting off, right, I thought I should just say this, right? So if you have seen a movie called How to Train a Dragon, right? So cloud is that dragon, right? If you're able to train it, you will get uh, whatever good things you want to do. If you're not able to train it, you're not going to get it, right? As simple as that. So people who have not watched How to Train a Dragon, please go watch. It is a good analogy, right? So that's how I would start relating to a cloud. But coming back to what I do, right? Say, since I represent the banking financial services industry, which is a highly regulated industry on par with healthcare as well, uh, typically all financial services customers are very hesitant, right, to do anything, especially data, right? But all of them have taken to the cloud, each and every one of them. Okay, so without any doubt. So cloud is not no more an option, right? It's more like an table stakes now. But what has happened to the cloud is it has taken new dimensions, right? How they have moved from a single cloud provider to a hybrid cloud and to a multi-cloud environment, right? So that is how the progression is happening in the cloud space, especially in the financial service industry. Okay, the FS industry is very finicky, very finicky about putting data into the cloud. Even that is now broken. And a lot of the FS customers are putting data on the cloud, which means they are moving away from the data centers and putting data onto the cloud. So it's like a full 9 yards of going everything all in, all out to the cloud, right? That is exactly what is happening across the industry, right? Nothing only on financial services, but across the industry. So the cloud has evolved so much. And the next 5, 10 years are going to be really interesting. We'll get to the details a little bit later, but this is what I see as a more an overarching kind of a view of what is happening in the cloud world. And given from a BFS perspective, this is a banking and financial services.
All right. Great. Let's hear the same. Vijaya, would you chip in your thoughts onto it? The trends that you see happening from your standpoint. I mean, for you, what it is, oil and gas industry mainly?
Yes, Sanjeev. If you see the trends, like in our industry is a bit slow to adopt cloud. However, if you see the way they have adopted the cloud, right? Or we were looking at a journey, like we in Yokogawa, we look at when we are trying to move applications or workloads to the cloud, we say, okay, first let us go with the cloud hosted kind of solution, then let us make it cloud enabled, and then finally let us take it to cloud native and so on. So while we are actually saying that we are going to get a lot of benefits out of the cloud, what we see is our customers are still very hesitant on moving to the cloud. What they say is, what I'm sitting on is a gold mine of data, and I just don't want to have someone else access to the data. I just move it to the cloud, and I'm not going to lose my security and so on. So they're preferring like something like can have a private data center kind of setup right now. Okay. Now, given that there is still some advantage of pushing them onto the public clouds, where we see that if you see the rate at which the public clouds are growing, right? The features that are getting added in the last few years is phenomenal. And I would say like there is a lot of investments and innovation going on in public clouds. And the adopters, like whoever is adopting the cloud, we are trying to catch up to whatever the innovation is happening on the public clouds right now.
So we are looking at two diverse views. You're saying fintech industry or financial industry is moving in a big way on cloud, public cloud, and you're saying oil and gas is thinking. I would have thought the other way around. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
it could be some organization specific things. So you definitely you are expressing some security concerns around it, Vijaya.
Yeah.
And let me ask Murali on this. I mean, if he's there, or I suddenly see his picture not there. Maybe we'll wait for him to come back. But that question is I'd like to ask Murali. What are those security concerns that people are trying to address, or are trying to grapple with, and what is the solution behind it? I mean, is hybrid the answer, or it's just the fear they need to just cross that bridge?
Okay. So when it comes to the data, right, how effectively managing and securing the data into the hybrid environment is a critical, which include that on-premises, we call it as on-prem, public and private cloud, required a comprehensive and integrated approach. So let me share some of the, what the best practices, what you're following up. So security measures is all about securing the data access and sharing. Encryption is the one I can talk about. Encrypt the data both as a rest and transit to protect it from that unauthorized usage or access. IAM, we call it as identity and access management. One is to implement the robust IAM policies to control who has access to the data and under what condition. So this including your multi-factor authentication or MFA, or role-based access, we call it as. And also everyone knows that the zero trust architecture. So adopt the zero trust security assumes no users or device is trusted by default, even if they are within the network or within the perimeters. So data security also comes in a couple of measures. One, multi-layered security, which is implement multi-layered security to approach the encompassing the network security, endpoint security, perimeters access, or application security across all the environment is the one I can think of it. Second one, security monitoring and incident response, where you deploy the security monitoring tool and incident response tools to detect and address them threat proactively, so you don't want to get into the trouble. Our regular security audit is the one conduct the regular the security audit and vulnerability assessment to identify and the mitigation of risk. Of course, the compliance and risk management is a key one. Again, we don't want to go into that governance part, but the risk management perspective regularly conduct risk assessment to identify and mitigate the potential potential security threat and vulnerabilities also. These are the things I can think of it. By adopting these strategies, organization can effectively manage and secure their data across multiple environment, whether it's a hybrid or public or private, or ensuring the data integrity, availability, and compliance. Thank you.
Vijay, I need to spend more time with Dell. I think that's what I can tell.
So I'll give you one more perspective, right? So Sanjeev, BFS, the banking, the financial services industry was exactly the same thing, right? About 6, 7, 8 years ago. Very finicky, but how did they manage to break it out, right? So they found a multi-pronged approach from a security perspective, right? They started from a physical security, a perimeter security, a network security, infrastructure security, and an application security. So they worked on all these things. They made it secure. Forget about the data. Data is only one part of the equation, which is the most important part. I agree. But we should have a holistic security-based approach covering all these aspects of security, right? Then only the banks or the financial services institutions were very confident of moving them to the cloud. In fact, one of the biggest providers in US, they don't have data centers at all. Okay. And it's a 100 billion, more than 100 billion. They're now buying over another $100 billion company. They are completely on the cloud. They don't have a single data center, physical data center. Everything, including the data, lock, stock, and barrel. It was a multi-year exercise, but lock, stock, and barrel, they have moved to the cloud. Lock, stock, and barrel. Everything. But I thought I'll just share this perspective. Thank you.
So there's So there's a diversity in the world, which is good.
Yeah.
There are people.
Sanjeev, to add on, while I say security is one of the concerns, so there are various ways our industry is actually thinking of to address this issue. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make public data centers co-located near the industrial areas. So, for example, like if you have an industrial area like Jamnagar, where there are a lot of chemical factories and refineries and so on. So we are looking at can we have a public cloud placed near it so that we can address the concerns of latency and all that. And then it's also near to the customers, and then we are able to get customers get onto the cloud.
Seriously? So you see it and you believe it more? That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see it every
yeah.
day in front of me. I pass in front of. Wow, that's first time I'm hearing. So very interesting. So let's hear now. We heard it two different. Let's hear from the healthcare side of things. So Dr. Bhaskar, welcome. Could it be a cultural thing that Japanese are slow to do that? I mean, I didn't want to bring that angle, but could it be that? And Dr. Bhaskar, you are sitting in also Japan or Australia? Which country is that?
No, I'm in Japan right now.
Japan. Okay. So let's look at it from the user standpoint, right? You represent a different segment. So how is the medical data handled? There are regulatory issues also, I believe there. So how is that handled?
Thank you, Sanjeev. First of all, it's a pleasure being here. And I think we heard from our colleagues about the sensitivity of data around finance and other sectors. But I would say like multiply that 1,000 folds, and that's how complex healthcare data set is. Because I just want to share with you some diversity of cases from Japan, Australia, India, and Europe. Take, for example, in Japan. Japan, because of its systems are more reliable, but then they also tend to be more risk averse. So you have private clouds sitting within so I sit in the Osaka, but our cluster, the private cloud actually sits in Kobe, which is not that far from here. And so that's one example. But then the Tokyo University Medical Hospital has its own private cloud, and several other hospitals in Japan. But if you compare that with India, India is actually much more rapidly moving towards hybrid cloud model. And I can give an example of Narayanan Hospital. I recently had a pleasure to visit, Dr. Devi Shetty in Bangalore, and what a phenomenal transition from private cloud to the hybrid cloud they have done over time, where the sensitive data sits in the private cloud, but then more scalable data can then sit in the cloud zone. So that's an example from India. From Australia, I think there is much more transition now, where the hospitals are willing to negotiate to put some of their data in the cloud. But then there are some Australian regulations where the data sovereignty is a major issue, which means the healthcare data being both structured and unstructured. Some of the data is not digital yet. We're still grappling with a lot of data which is not digital yet. So how do we grapple with that? And that data need to sit within the Australian regulations. From a European perspective, the German Healthcare Cancer Center has now also used the public and the private, like a hybrid model.
Did we lose you?
Yeah, looks like, yeah.
Yeah. So, would it be a fair statement that I think Japanese are more cautious about this whole thing the Americans, what I heard from Srini is like $100 billion company moving lock, stock, barrel on cloud, and Japanese taking steps, one step at a time. Probably that could be a cultural thing also. It could be that angle. But that's for us to think. I'm not making any strong comment on it, just an observation from what I just heard. So Dr. Bhaskar, we lost you. Anything to finish before we're about to go to our first startup actually from here. If you have one quick line to add here, please do that.
Somewhere yeah, definitely. My last point would be that I think when the new medical startups or startups in the business are starting, one of the things that they must consider is about compliance and security. And cybersecurity and compliance must be embedded at the development stage rather than an afterthought. I think these days what happens is you develop an app and then you think in posterior sense that how do we embed cyber? That's not the right way to go. Think about cybersecurity. Think about security at the very beginning when you are actually developing the app or the cloud application. That's very important.
So security and safety is the key concern here, Murali. So I think that's the point we'll hear from you after we come back from our first startup. Let's see what a new angle they bring to it and what is the new breakthroughs they are working on. So over to you, Naman. We'll come back to this discussion after that.
Right, right. Thank you, sir. So this was part one of the discussion we had. There is more to it, right? And what an incredible discussion we just had, right? And it's rare to see such a well-placed panel with a mix of industry leaders who are truly shaping the future of tech. And I'm sure all our attendees and all our enterprises, all our guests today will walk away with some valuable takeaways, right? And speaking of exciting things, let me quickly take a moment to check out our event calendar, right? We have got a lineup of incredible sessions and discussions planned, each designed to spark new ideas, to foster innovation, from deep dives into emerging tech to interactive panels with industry leaders. There's something for everyone, right? So stay tuned and keep an eye on the calendar. It's packed with opportunities to engage, learn, and innovate. And now, it's time to keep the momentum going as we dive into something equally exciting, our startup pitches. This is where we bring some of the brightest minds and some of the most innovative minds in the country. And so each pitch represent a fresh idea, bold vision, right? And so you'll have 10 minutes to all our startup presenters today. Just quickly, let me set the context. You have 10 minutes to talk about your use case, the solution that you have built, and some of the impact that you have created, right? So first up, we have Friga Cloud. We have Veer from Friga Cloud.
Hi guys. Hey Raman.
Hi Veer. All right, so we can see you, Veer. You're right. So over to you. You have 10 minutes, right, to impress all of us. And over to you.
So do I need to do a presentation or how is it? Or I just need to talk?
Presentation, right. If you have it handy, please quickly share your screen. You have all the access, and take us through some of your slides.
Sure, let me know if my screen is visible now.
Yes. All right.
So hi guys, as you were all talking about cloud and the transformations in the cloud, so you would already know that Kubernetes is one of the fastest growing technology and it is trending. But do you know what is the problem with Kubernetes? Kubernetes itself is a problem. It solves some of the major business use cases of scaling, security, monitoring, and everything. But on the same time, the learning curve on Kubernetes is so pathetic that it becomes really difficult to implement it. And it's not just me who's saying that. Forbes even says that it has got the steepest learning curve. So at Friga, we found this is one of the biggest problem, and we are here to solve that. So we are simply simplifying Kubernetes for everyone, and we are building Kubernetes management solution like an operating system. The way we know Android, the similar way we are developing an operating system on top of Kubernetes. So today the market sits at approximately $3 billion for Kubernetes in 2024, and yet we are in the early stages of adoption. Today, I think the market in 2024 is just moved to the majority, the early majority market. The market is yet to grow to approximately $10 billion by 2030. And that's where we wanted to be in the early starting point, and that's what we are doing. So if we look at the DevOps management, which I think most of you would already be aware of. So there was a normal developer who is coding, who's pushing their code into Git. Jenkins is building it, pushing to the VMs, and there was an auto scaling group. You can just scale the systems. And there was a DevOps engineer or a DevOps team who manages through a cloud platform dashboard what AWS and GCP offers. Then comes Docker, and that comes Kubernetes. So this is DevOps 2.0, which we know about Kubernetes. where there are three types of solution, and this is scaled over time. So earlier we started with entirely managed container services. We moved to a managed Kubernetes, and today most of the companies wants to move to a fully self-managed Kubernetes. But one of the biggest problem in with each of them was over here on one side, when you were having a complete containerized managed container services, it was very simple, but it was definitely limited. When you move to Kubernetes management, you got better control, but you then get vendor locked in. If you are running on EKS, probably you can't move to GCP, or the movement is very problematic. When you are fully managed Kubernetes, you have a different level of problem. You need a full-fledged DevOps team to run this, and which becomes very, very costly. We thought just erase everything off from the board, because people today are managing Kubernetes the way they want. And today, the key challenge in managing Kubernetes is that it is difficult. At the same time, it is, if you want to implement an end-to-end Kubernetes solution, it is very costly and time consuming. When I say time consuming, setting up a DevOps process in Kubernetes takes approximately around 8 to 10 months, sometimes even more than that. And there is no standard way of doing it. If let's say we are talking about two edtech companies, they will implement Kubernetes in completely different way. So there were many problems. We are introducing DevOps 3.0, a new era to Kubernetes management, and this is one of the first cloud operating system. So when we say operating system, we generally think about the devices, but now we are developing an operating system concept for the cloud management. It is nothing but it is a framework essentially. So today we are building Friga Cloud Suite, like the way Adobe calls their product lineup as a suite. So we also are building a set of product lineups. These product lineups they offer a end-to-end pre-configured Kubernetes setup. So where, let's say you need a very experienced DevOps person to set up your entire Kubernetes, now that can be same standard, where you get everything: scaling, security, visibility, cost optimization, everything at a fractional of cost, and just in a week's time compared to what it took earlier, 8-10 months. So in general, Friga is nothing but it is a Kubernetes management which is packaged with Kubernetes, packaged with bunch of open source tools which are already out there in the market, which already people know, with an added layer of Friga intelligence. So as I said, Friga is not just a framework, it is an operating system. So if you guys are familiar with operating system, which you most likely be, so most of the operating system works on the concept of drivers. So we are also building some of the core drivers. There are plugin drivers that we are making, and we are also having our own Play Store kind of a setup. So now, just like an Android phone, you can go to our Play Store. Let's say you want to install let's say Grafana, right? So over there, you can just click on Grafana, it gets installed. So you do not need to think about how do I configure my Grafana inside a Kubernetes cluster, how I should optimize it. Everything is already done because the drivers are configured in that way. The drivers not only provide the easy installation, it also provides you security, storage, and everything. I'll talk about it. So one example, this is how we manage a network security system. So we have a built-in IDS. So if Friga is running a Kubernetes cluster, it has a built-in intrusion detection system. We have an ingress gateway, we have an egress gateway, and everything is logged, everything is tracked. In terms of a security, this is one of another tools that we are building in. So what happens is that, let's say that I have I'm running a company where I have multiple DevOps engineers, and one of the DevOps engineers today leave, and they have the PEM key to my VMs. Right, this is one of the
Well,
problem because
last 2 minutes quickly. You need to wind it
Yeah.
up quickly. 2 minutes.
Got it. So this person can move away and they can just take, they still have the access. So we are building these things. Apart from that, we have pre-configured node groups where we have completely optimized what a Kubernetes should look like. We have our own DR policy for the entire file management that is also baked in. We have entire IAC and GitOps. So the IAC and GitOps, which takes 6 to 8 months to set up, that is there within 1 week of time. We also have a built-in cost optimizer, which in normal cases, there are products which is built for Kubernetes cost optimization. We have already that is baked in. This is one of our tools. We have a pipeline technology, which is now we are transforming into Tecton. Earlier, it is built on drone. We have that. We have our own log management tool. We have our own monitoring visualization, and everything which I'm showing you, this is just 1 week setup. And we also support a hybrid cloud. So you can run on AWS, you can run on Azure, you can run on GCP, but for for a team management, it's just one seamless dashboard that they get. And as I mentioned, that everything is for us is a plugin, which means that a new developer who just wants to build a plugin on top for Frigga, they can do it. And everything that we are developing is an open source software. From R&D lab, so we are typically R&D company. Hydronium is our flagship product, which is already deployed at many of the customers. This offers a horizontal scaling for a monolith architecture. The cluster optimizer is one of the cost-saving tools that I spoke about. This is also our in-house tool, which we developed, and we are in discussion with multiple other tools that we are building. And so we are a company which is building multiple tools just on top of Kubernetes and which supports the Frigga OS. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Veer. Veer, which means brave. So it was quite a brave pitch. Thank you so much, Veer. So we'll take the questions offline. Moving on, we'll move to our next innovator who is joining us from Africa right now. He's on his way to Dubai. So he's joining us from the airport. We have Rajesh. Rajesh, can we have you on the screen, please? Quickly, just take us through some of the your tech stack, your innovation, and some of the impact like we discussed. Quickly, Rajesh.
Yeah, sure. Yep, I'm audible.
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for giving this wonderful opportunity to present F9 Infotech and our services. My name is Rajesh, co-founder and CTO for F9 Infotech. I know the time is limited. Questions can be taken later. So about us, we are a global system integrator and consulting firm, which has a presence across 6 countries. And we are majorly working with the multi-cloud and cybersecurity. AWS is one of our major partner, and we are a Microsoft solution provider. And apart from that, we work with Azure, VMware, Oracle Cloud, and Google. And our major focus in multi-cloud and cybersecurity. So so we born in multi-cloud and cybersecurity solution provider. So entire our workloads, our services, solutions are everything is running in the cloud, and we work with all the hyperscalers platform. So the topic which I'm going to do it, how we can secure your business. Basically, every organization did, or everybody is in threats to cyber, right? So how we can secure it? Most of the organizations, about 99% organization faces their breaches, data breaches, ransomware attack 65%, phishing attack 75%, vulnerability 60%, and 55% of course the misconfigurations. What our team or the who is doing the deployment, how we can overcome this. So key capabilities, like I can say, on cyber resilience part. So one is a backup. Of course, you have to take a backup. So how you used to do it in on-premises, similar way, we have to do it in the cloud. Disaster recovery, cloud trails or logs. So basically, cloud trail is something from AWS. Similarly, every vendor has their own log providing system, which you can validate how who are accessing, what kind of an access is happening over there. Then guard duty or sentinel, basically for how we can detect and analysis. Then the configuration or the policy for every cloud. The interesting point is basically how we can success this actually. So when you're moving to cyber resilience, so how fast you can organization can bring up the data. So that's very important to run the business successfully. So minimizing the downtime in case of any disruptions, not the disaster. Maybe one of the server goes down, application goes down, how we can bring it back, enhance the compliance. So standards and compliance are very mandatory for bigger organization or smaller organization. But when you go to the compliance process, then you understand how we can make it much reliant solutions over there, or cyber resilience infrastructure over there. Then reduce cyber threats. Of course, we're not able to 100% block everything, but as you know, every service providers provide 99.99%. Similar way, we can keep it up to 99.99. There's still for an attack. So how we can prevent it? It's kind of an we have to do every day, or we can say like it has to be preventive maintenance. We have to do it, or we need to do daily task, or we have to monitor it. So all this has to be do routine checkups, which will help you to making sure your cloud is being secure. So coming to data backup and recovery, see the data backups, of course. So it's not mean like all the servers or the solution has to be backed up. So it's like based on the requirement, based on the application availability, which applications are very critical. Based on that, you have to be defined what kind of a backup has to be done. It's an hourly based, monthly based, daily based, or so it will help you to recover from some kind of a cyber attacks. Immediately you can recover it. Then business continuity and disaster recovery. So I'm working with many organizations for a consulting. So I understand from many organizations like DR is kind of a very complex. It's a myth basically, because everybody thinks about cost, people, maintenance, and the time they have to spend for keeping a disaster recovery site or maybe or the solution. But when it is coming to the cloud, or even if it's an on-premise running, it's very easy to build a disaster recovery service over there. Again, it's up to the organization what kind of a requirement, the RTO and RPO, how comprehensive restoration you need it, automated failover and failback, and the complaints, and how fast you need to bring it back. If organization it's okay with the 4 hours, of course you can have a passive copy over there. And if somewhere needs like a near zero, then of course you need to have a proper BCDR with an active mode. Then the measures. So these points, I think like Murali has already explained over there in the previous. So again, I'm going through again. So main thing, cybersecurity measure we have to take in any organization. Very important, encryption. All sensitive informations. It can be rest or in transit. It has to be encrypted. Then the multi-layered security approach. We need to keep the firewalls, IDA solutions, EDR solutions, and how we can prevent the attacks. Then of course, third is proactive vulnerability management. You should have a robust patch management solution, making sure all your services, it's not only your production servers, it has to be comprehensively handling your endpoint systems, including your laptops, mobile devices, everything has to be properly patched, which will help you to reduce the cyber attacks. So which will help you to vulnerability up to 80%, improve your operation efficiency 65%, enhance remote workforce 70%, and more.
Quickly, Rajesh,
So second,
just last 2 minutes,
yeah.
quickly, just wind it up.
Yeah, so security, identity, and access. How you can making sure how you can access has been managed with an MFA or more. And of course, the main point is employee training. You should have all employees should be trained well to understand the cyber security part. So then network monitoring, you need to have a proper monitoring over there to making sure all the infrastructure is being monitored. And finally, the incident response. So I don't know like how many organizations are using it. If not there, you should have an IRP in your presence. And apart from that, we do a seamless migration, which help you to migrate all your workloads from on-premises or cloud to cloud. We are there and we have a detailed approach methodology, understand, assess, document, identify, evaluate, map, and commit and deliver it. Then one of our main case study, which I want to tell you like last minute. So one of the leading global retail company, so they had a great challenges over there too. So they were approached us to reduce the cost of 25%, but without proper approach. We did a great job over there and our team, and thanks to F9 team on that. So they helped to reduce up to 30% cost for the customers. So they are one of the leading retail company based out on Dubai. And thank you for giving the wonderful opportunity again. Questions, I will be available. You can ask anytime. Thank you.
No,
Well, we would have liked to hear a little bit more on your case, but I think that came towards the end. But Rajesh, how many cases of cloud security breach have you seen so far since you talked to so many organizations? What is the most common thing that you hear?
So we are on almost a 5-year-old company. So from last 2 years, we have been there for approximately 5 to 6 customers where the entire data is being gone. Basically, the entire data center goes down actually with a cyber attack. It's a ransomware, including their DR has been compromised. So these are like the major clients of us in the Dubai and other regions. So the challenges what we saw it actually network. So their network has been not protected, and employees. So they are not using properly the MFAs, the passwords, and employee training is one of the important things. We help the organization to do the complaints check as well as employee training. So the employees are
public cloud is safe, right? Relatively, I mean, you're talking about the
cloud. See the safety comes basically, right? We can put lot of efforts over there. We can put lot of technologies over there. End of the day, it's continuously we have to do. As Srinivasan mentioned, actually, how to train your dragon. So we have to train the systems. We have to train your employees. We need to train the system how we can making sure your infrastructure is more resilient. So that we need to put a lot of efforts continuously, making sure regular compliance are there, technology is being there, and solution is being employed.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rajesh. So let me come back to Murali on this. So Murali, now if we have to, we heard a lot of things from different people, some of the new innovators. There were some few more, but for interest of time, we are keeping those. We are not bringing those up. But what would be your recommendation to people, right? To say that, when somebody is looking at, whether I do a hybrid or to go totally public, or how do I optimize the cost? How do I take care of the securities? What would be your recommendation? Because a lot of people will look up to you for advice in your organization, I would say.
Thank you, Sanjeev. I think the emerging cloud models is evolving today. Even though the AI boom is happening, particularly the hybrid cloud present the compelling proposition for the business, aiming to strike balance between the cost optimization and operational agility. My conversation outlines mostly on how the cloud models are achieved the balance between and the role of facilitating the modern operation, and the discussion all over that how potential limitation is happening and regarding the flexibility compared to the fully public or private cloud deployment. When I talk about the cost optimization, correct, it's all about a hybrid cloud is how you configuring your workload allocations. The strategically allocating the workloads between on-prem and the cloud environment enable the business to optimize the cost. For example, non-critical or less sensitive data move into that on-prem, and which cloud resource can be leveraged to the bursting or handling the peak demand to minimizing that infrastructure expenses. That's one. The second one, resource pooling, how best you are optimizing your pooling between on-prem and cloud environment, improving your utilization, reducing the cost, or associated with the maintaining the ideal one. When it comes to the multi-cloud, it's all about cost arbitrage, right? It's how best you are leveraging your multi-cloud providers, allow the business to take advantage of competitive pricing and negotiate the favorable terms, ultimately reducing the how do you say that overall the cloud expenditures. Also, the vendor lock mitigation is the one everyone struggles sometime. Let me speak about that one. The multi-cloud deployment avoid the dependence on single vendor, mitigating the risk of the vendor lock-in or potential price hike. When it comes to the operation agility perspective, hybrid cloud plays the key role, scalability and flexibility. When I say flexibility, is all about a hybrid cloud provides the flexibility in choosing the best environment for each workload based on the performance, security and compliance requirement, also the promoting the operation agility. And scalability is all about how best you configure or optimizing your cloud resources, can be rapidly provisioning or deprovisioning the based on the demand, allowing that business to scale the operation up and down seamlessly, also providing that agility in response to the change in market conditions and all the stuff. Multi-cloud is all about, I talk about hybrid cloud. This is a multi-cloud all about your geographical reach and how the service, diversifications. When I say that one multi-cloud, it's also enables business to select the best services from a different cloud providers for specific needs, promoting agility and adapting to evolving the business needs and all the stuff. The limitation one is all about complexity, security, data transfer, lock-in, vendor lock-in. These are the things I can think of it. Let me talk about only the complexity and data transfer. The complexities comes into the multiple cloud environment, managing how best you managing it. One is integrating on premises and cloud resources, ensuring the data consistency across the platform can increase the complexity and administrative overhead. Second one is moving the a large volume of data between on-prem and the cloud environment can be time consuming and costly affair, also impacting your operation stability. So I can conclude that one, or the recommendation to do that thorough planning needed, expert guidance needed, continuous optimization needed, regularly review your cloud infrastructure and how these things are utilization to identify the cost optimization opportunities to fine tune your further your cloud strategy for maximizing that agility and efficiency. That's what I can think of it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. So summary, one size doesn't fit all. Everybody will have to choose.
Yeah, I can say that strategically leveraging this model, I think the business can modernize the operation and respond to the based on the need and drive innovation. However, they essential to acknowledge the potential limitation regarding the flexibility and addressing associated complexity also needs the benefit of all the emerging cloud paradigm. Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks. So Dr. Bhaskar, share us one or two things that have worked for you, the tools, the strategies that you think have worked wonderfully for you, or ones which did not work also. Maybe bring that out also for the benefit of our audience and for our learning. Yeah, you're on mute. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Malhotra. I just want to share with you 3 important strategies which I think has worked for us, but may be of value to those who are joining us today. One is to actually leverage APIs in terms of how do you seamlessly integrate data and fractured data, unfractured data, like structured, unstructured data. In healthcare, it's quite useful. For example, imagine a patient from a rural village in India or from Africa getting a report, a doctor's report, and getting it scanned through like a phone camera, whatever, and putting that on a PDF on the app, and getting that app be translated on digital cloud so that that information can guide patient manager in terms of which drug or treatment is most suitable for that patient is one of the things that can really help in other sectors as well. So API seamless integration is quite useful. The second is about standardizing data. Like in healthcare, one of the biggest challenges we have is the data is not standardized. So in terms of the cloud integration, one of the formats that we use is HL7 or FHIR. So making sure that all the data that we have across different facilities or whether individual data or otherwise needs to be standardized in these formats, very important. Lastly, I think that in the age of artificial intelligence, we really need to leverage how these technologies can help us to automate some of the harmonization of data. And now that's being done so wonderfully. So I would strongly encourage the colleagues to see how AI, artificial intelligence, can be leveraged to harmonize the data across your entire pipeline, whether it's structured, unstructured, or the data, so on and so forth. In terms of the learnings or some of the failures that we have had, I think one of the problems with interoperability is about the limited resources. So the resources that we have in India or in Australia, in Japan, is not really applicable to many other parts of the world, in Africa and other places. And the limited resources, the bandwidth, so on and so forth, plays a very important role in terms of how do we make it interoperable. One of the examples is the telemedicine apps, like for teleconsultations with patients from low and middle income countries where they have low bandwidth. It becomes difficult because suddenly the link will go off and you're unable to have that the video connection, and you can't discharge your duty as a physician appropriately if you can't do the clinical examination or have that conversation with patient. So that indicates to you there are challenges in healthcare which are very unique, but of course these challenges are also applicable to other areas as well. But thank you for the question. Wonderful.
Good to hear that perspective. One of the things that India is trying to do is how do we make data accessible from one service provider to another, right? And it being on a public cloud definitely helps, right? I mean, today you use service provider X, tomorrow you use Y, and having that access is definitely going to be improving rather than we carrying our physical reports or diagnosis. So before I come to you, Srini, let me just ask Vijaya on what is the thinking in the organization? I mean, I don't mean to know your internal too many details, but the direction in which you are thinking, are you happy the way it is, or are you thinking to going in some other direction? And And maybe you heard many things today. Maybe you can start influencing your inside people. You're on mute.
Yeah, we are trying to go big on cloud, and we are trying to push customers to adopt the various cloud technologies. And the approach we have taken is we are trying to build a global cloud platform, and we are facing a lot of challenges. We see that the clouds are not accessible in many countries. For example, like if I am on Google, you cannot access it from China. And if you want to go to Middle East, they say sovereignty is important. You put the data center in my country. If you're in India, then they say, okay, as long as the data is resident within India, that is fine. So so looking at all this, the various approaches, and then looking at a lot of compliance requirements and all, so we've looked at a strategy as to like how do we go for a multi-cloud strategy. So irrespective of where the customer is, like how do we serve that customer, and how do we ensure that any cloud application that he wants is accessible and it is also legally compliant, Sanjeev.
Okay, good. You know why Middle East tells you to keep all the data there in the sovereignty? Because somebody said data is oil. They're used to be having all the oil there. Sorry, bad joke. I just could think of it while you were. So, Srini, let's ask you. Tell us. You have a fairly wider view of the world on what you deal with customers of all varieties. Where do you see this thing going in the next 5 to 7 years, right? So many new technologies coming up and the pressure of AI and so on. Where do you see this going? And a lot of people are making their own chips. Now the cloud providers are saying, I need to have my own semiconductor. What is happening here?
Great. Yeah, absolutely. See, if you take a pan world view, right? So what is happening in North America is not going to be applicable for Europe, right? Europe is different versus North America. North America is more open. Europe is more I should say traditional or more circumspect in adoption. But essentially, the whole things revolves around cloud. As I said, it's table stakes, right? Everybody's so cloud. Nobody's talking about adopting cloud. Everybody's adopted, right? But how do we make sure that we make the best use of the cloud? That's the kind of thing. So if we got multi-cloud or hybrid cloud, right? People are already starting thinking Google Anthos kind of a logic, right? To say, can I create something where I can monitor everything from a single place, whether I use an Azure or whether I use an AWS or any cloud provider, or maybe in Alibaba, doesn't matter, right? As long as I give a single pane of glass. So that is what all the big organizations are moving out, right? I'm talking about the financial services organizations, right? They want to make sure that they understand the cost aspects, they understand the security aspects, obviously, but the most important thing what they are thinking is how do I proactively find out what could potentially go wrong? Okay, which essentially ties it back to the entire AI story which is going around the industry now, right? Especially with Gen AI and things, right? So Gen AI has become a great leveler, I would say, right now. So essentially, two or three things which is going to happen based on whatever I'm seeing is one, obviously AI, right? Absolutely no doubt AI is going to be one major talking point for the next 3 to 5 years minimum. Okay, I'm not talking Gen AI, I'm talking about AI as a whole. But the other thing is edge computing, right? How do we quicken the process of data creation, data manipulation, or whatever processing of data? Can you move it to the near to the customer? So edge-based computing is going to become very, very, very powerful, so that you will start getting results very quickly. So that's the second thing which I'm seeing. And the third thing is all around data compliance, right? Which essentially revolves on the GDPRs of the world, the CCPAs of the world, or even the RBIs of the world, right? How do you make sure that you create horses for courses? That's what I use the word, horses for courses. Take it, make sure you are able to identify what applications or the things which you would need to do it in a private versus a multi-cloud, what kind of workloads you would need to go into where, right? So that kind of an improvisation is happening. People took to the cloud. I'm talking about FS services, the financial services, but now they are now optimizing it to say, okay, how can I do a multi-cloud? Multi-cloud, I'm seeing two aspects, right? I'll also give you a tangential other view, but let me put this view first, right? One, couple of companies are taking a look at BCP DR in a multi-cloud. Can I use AWS as my primary and Azure as my secondary? BCP DR using multi-cloud, or dev prod approaching a multi-cloud. Okay, a lot of companies are adopting this kind of strategies to make sure how they reduce costs and also make sure they're able to do the DR strategy well. Another aspect which I'm kind of worrying is also maybe a trend which will start surfacing is cloud repatriation. Okay, which is going to be one of the hottest topics the next couple of years. Lot of companies are not able to control costs, which essentially leading them to think that why don't we return back to the data center world? Okay, so cloud repatriation is one major topic being discussed as we speak in the whole world, especially in the FS industry, right? So does it make sense to have a data center also to start with and eventually move everything to data center? Only time will tell. But that kind of discussions, so cloud repatriation discussions are starting to happen. So if you want to summarize, obviously AI, edge computing, data, all around data compliance regulations. And the fourth is complete tangentially is that a cloud repatriation. So these are the four things which I foresee, and everything will be probably and obviously security is an all-encompassing thing, right? But that's why I didn't touch upon security. But this is what I'm seeing currently happening in the industry, at least for next 5 years. But one interesting thing which I forgot to mention, one last thing before I close is the quantum computing. Okay, quantum computing is going to be the reason I'm saying is next week I'm having a discussion with one of the top banks in Europe. Okay, especially on quantum computing on the cloud. Okay, for example, IBM or an AWS Bedrock kind of a discussion. So quantum is also going to be very promising the next couple of years, but the adoption will tell. But the discussions have already started. People have started already doing POCs, right, on fraud detection and stuff like that in the financial services world using quantum, right? So quantum on the cloud is another distinct area which has got a lot of promise and a lot of talks, both in the European world and the North American world have started moving towards that. So these are the 4 or 5 things which I thought would be the next 5 to 10 years of the cloud.
Great. Now, quantum we hear a lot, especially in the areas how easily it is going to help do a security breach. This RSA security, that's the what I'm reading more in the scientific journal world. Definitely. So, all right, Murali, any last closing thing? How do you see the dollars rising on this? I mean, he talked about the 10. You tell how the dollars are rising. When do you see it becoming $1 trillion industry, or something that you want to put as a last remark before I hand it to Naman?
Absolutely, well said that, Srini said that very clearly that, cloud and data security is a paramount to any cloud deployment model, what you're talking about. But physically, that parameters of the importance of depending on the model and, the cloud is coming with a lot of organization coming with, the AI enabled opportunities and all the stuff, and a very, very promising feature. That's what we see that. We are also market leader in cyber recovery and resiliency practice perspective. The cyber sense is a powerful security solutions. What we are doing it with data integrity and recovery, acting as a last line of defense against ransomware and other cyber attacks and all the stuff. So very, very promising feature that we are seeing that, and also that any feature comes with also comes with the challenging opportunities also, correct? Yeah. So I see that the area of a lot of data integrity and post-attack recovery and vault integrations and proactive monitoring, the scalability and all the stuff, I can see that the huge opportunity in front of us. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Look, we run out of time. Naman is already, I can see him there. So thank you for this opportunity to talk to all of you, to all the esteemed speakers here. So Naman, over to you.
Well, thank you, everyone. And just like that, we have come to an end of a great session. And what an exciting discussion it has been. Right now, I'm sitting here in Delhi, and I'm reminded of a common sentiment that we among friends that we use during engaging conversation. We often say, "Yaar, aaj to time ka pata hi nahi chala," right? Which means time flew by today. That's the magic of great discussion. That's the power of great discussion. What an insightful discussion, and what a journey it has been. Right, from sharp insights shared by our expert panel to groundbreaking ideas by some of our startups. So today, I would say we witness the power of collaboration, co-creation, creativity, and innovation. And once again, a big thank you to all our speakers for their time, wisdom, And to all of you, to our team and everyone for actively engaging and contributing to the discussions, and these moments of sharing ideas, learning from each other and pushing boundaries are what make platform like these special. And I would also like to thank our partners, Dell Technologies, for their unwavering support in making this event possible, this kind of discussion possible. Without your support to innovation and collaboration, none of this has been impactful. So before we sign off, please remember this is just the beginning. As I always say, whether it's through future event discussion or working on the solutions we explored today, there are plenty of opportunities to continue, innovating together. And today, as I always say, I'm going back home with some new connects, new friends from the corporate world. So be sure to check our calendar for our upcoming session, and let's keep the conversation going, right? We'll see you hopefully in our upcoming session. Thank you once again for your participation, your energy, your passion for innovation. Let's take what we have learned and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.